Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Our guest today is my good friend Thomas Parilla, president of Parilla Investment Group. Welcome back, sir.
Hi, Evan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a huge pleasure having you back on the Wall Street Silver Show. I just wanted to talk to you about everything that's happening and exciting in the silver and gold markets, what Powell's about to do next, but specifically on gold and silver, you're seeing something pretty incredible for, the past month or so. Gold is going to all-time highs, but silver, was lagging for a bit and people were complaining last month, but now we're starting to see some comeback. What do you see happening in the markets?
I think the moves we've seen in the last month or so, it's just the beginning. This is the first inning of what we've been kind of waiting for. And in silver, when you think about it, you were telling your guys to buy it when it was 20, 21, 22. Now it's over 28. They're doing great. I mean, they have to keep an eye on the percentage movement in silver, not necessarily the dollar movement in it.
Right.
I mean, I think what will happen is we'll continue to see the same thing. Silver will probably outperform gold on the upside. But they're both going to absolutely go through the roof. I don't know if you saw the breaking news here just in the last hour. It looks like there may have been an assassination attempt on the Syrian president,
Oh,
Assad.
really?
Yeah, I was hearing, gold jumped from about plus 12 to plus 25 in a blink of an eye.
Oh, geez.
I thought maybe the Iranians and the Israelis went at it. And all of a sudden I saw some news. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I imagine it'll be on our news wires here shortly. um, Kind of the crazy state of affairs we're in. If you go to our news wires right now, you'll see O.J. Simpson on top of every one of them.
Yeah.
The Syrian president has an assassination attempt, and you got to dig for it.
Yeah. Hey, that's weird. Hey, that's very
Yeah,
strange.
and I thought maybe at first it was a rumor floating around, but gold sitting there right now plus 26. Silver sitting up plus 21. So it really has not given back anything. So I think that probably is going to be a story that's confirmed. And it looks like, the next couple of days, geopolitically, the Middle East is just going to be a tinderbox. And
Well, yeah. I
uh,
I even seen something like last night, I think it was, they shut down all of Tehran's the Iranian airport. No airspace can go in or out, and I don't know if that's still active, but they did that for all night last night. So yeah, you don't know what's happening.
they blame that on a missile exercise, but you have no idea what the truth
Th
is.
they said they blamed that on a missile exercise?
Yeah, that the Iranians were doing a missile exercise,
Oh yeah,
just
they're
simply normal military maneuvers.
they're probably moving assets.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't believe anything you hear when stuff like that's going
Right.
on. Also, the United States, I think our head of CENTCOM went over to Israel. She
Yeah, they
got
have
there this
a
morning.
U.S. commander they sent to Israel to prep them for the Iranian attack.
It's a real problem. I mean, if the Houthis jump in, you got the United States and the British ships there in the Red Sea should do a pretty good job of knocking down most of the drones or missiles. But then I think you're assuming Hezbollah, Syria, Iran all go at the same time. And then it's a real mess. I mean, the Israelis would have to retaliate. The Americans, I'd imagine the British would step in and help. And then all of a sudden you've got five, six countries at it, and the Russians and the Chinese are all in the area.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a dangerous time, and I can see why gold's up. It makes sense. The interesting part about the gold market right now, I think the bulk of this move has been geopolitical.
Right.
So the rate cuts that are coming, I don't think are priced into this at all.
Right.
And me and you talked maybe 6, 7 months ago, and at the time I made some kind of dumb projections. I thought by the end of April we'd be around 2,500 in gold, and then a year from now about 5,000. Yeah, if we have a flare up in the Middle East here in the next 2 weeks, we could see 2,500 in gold pretty easy.
Wow.
And where it gets interesting then is if you get, say, to July, I think the Fed's going to have to start to cut. I know they keep pushing it out, pushing it out.
Yeah, it's September now projected.
I think it'll be July. I don't know how they can go much farther. Yesterday when the news broke that it looked like they were going to push the rate cuts out, the regional banks got crushed.
Yeah.
Valley went down 9%. New York Community Bank went down 8%. And I looked at Valley. Right now Valley Bank is sitting on 61 billion in commercial real estate exposure. And the problem they've got is it's that same situation where it's extend and pretend, where they keep kind of pushing these bad loans out farther and farther, so they're stacking them up. But now you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, like for office space, I was talking to a commercial real estate expert this morning about this, and he said funding for office space is non-existent right now.
Wow.
So that space has completely frozen.
Because of the interest rates, right?
There's no credit available for them, you know.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and the other part about it is when you had the lockdown from COVID, a lot of people didn't go back to work. And now, of course, you're in inner cities. I mean, look at New York City, look at San Francisco. From what I can understand on the commercial real estate side, if you own a property and your occupancy rate dips below 65%, that loan starts to bleed fast,
Yeah.
and you're going to have a lot of them. So the Fed's going to have to make some decision. I mean, I don't think it's just the regional banking system. I mean, they might sit there and say, okay, we'll keep bailing these guys out, and maybe a few will have to be taken over, bailed out in that manner. But what do you do with the whole commercial real estate business? You're gonna let that go down? I don't see how you can. So I think the Fed, even though they might not want to, I think they're going to have to go ahead and inject liquidity at some point this year,
Hmm.
earlier than they want to. And the other part about it politically, it takes about 3 months for rate cuts to work their way into the markets. So, and into the economy. So if you want to get Joe Biden reelected and you're in the Fed, you got to start cutting in July. If you wait till September or later, it's going to be after the election before any kind of a bump comes back into the economy. So I guess that's the question. Do you believe that the Fed, the DOJ, the rest of them are all politicized now, or
Hmm.
do you think they're independent?
Right.
If they're going to try to help get him reelected, then they're probably going to cut in July. And I'm going to kind of stick to that projection unless I see something else come out that's going to, change my mind. I think it's not going to be September. I think they're going to be forced to come in July and cut.
Yeah, I agree.
And then in the gold and silver market, you start to price that into it. If this is all geopolitical, and then you start to price the rate cuts into it as we get close to that time period, that's, gold's going to get real interesting.
Yeah.
I think we're in the absolute right sector. And what you did with your followers, for the last 2 years, 3 years, having guys go in there and accumulate, that was the smartest thing on earth. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, Christmas, you should have got 1,000 Christmas cards because the favor you did these people, they're going to realize it when it's all said and done. But the crazy part about it is look at the news wires now, and you see all the large banks coming out with buy recommendations in the gold and silver market now and
Right.
putting out their projections. And now they're moving all their clients. And so the trust departments are moving these large endowments in. Where were they at 1,700? When silver was at 20, where were they? They should have
Hmm.
been loading clients in.
Right.
And that's the thing. I think now the retailers are starting to come into it. The institutions will start to add to their positions, and you're going to see a scarcity come in. On the silver market, especially, I would say the dealers are going to start to run low pretty quickly here.
I absolutely agree. I was looking even at Instagram recently, and there was an account, and they're named Terry Business, and what they showed was something pretty incredible. It was a director of the FBI. He went to Capitol, and he said something big was coming on the horizon because of the border issue and everything else, and increased terrorism, and since like his speech on Capitol, like you're just seeing gold just have a trajectory like crazy, and that was a while ago. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think we're almost running into truly the perfect storm. I looked at the numbers this morning. Global debt hit 336% of global GDP.
Right.
So it's not just a US problem with the debt issue. So when this debt issue blows apart, it's a global issue. It's going
Right.
to be a major problem. But the problem you have is with these central banks, I mean, the way they keep power is by debt creation. So they
Right.
have to create it. That's the only thing that keeps them in business. As this morning, I looked at the gold and silver market. Last time we spoke, we talked a little bit about the silver gold ratio, and it was 83.69 this morning. The long-term historic average is 65. So it's still fairly out of whack.
Yeah.
So your followers would be smart to continue to add to their silver positions here as much as they can. Just keep sticking it away. The way I look at the overall market right now, gold, silver are in an early cycle, and the S&P 500 is in a late cycle. And that means gold and silver is going to see fresh inflows of cash flowing in regularly. And you're going to see much more explosive moves on the upside because when you go sideways or down for an extended period of time, 2, 3 years, the market coils and then it jumps.
Hmm.
And I think that's where we're at now. We're beginning to break out. We're starting to move. 1/3 of the miners hit 52-week highs in the last week.
Wow.
So you're starting to see more of a bullish trend come to the whole group now. This summer is going to be pretty exciting. I don't know if you saw this news out last week. Costco said they sold $200 million in gold sales last month. Can you imagine
Yeah.
Costco if they have a run rate of 2.4 billion a year? And I haven't seen the Walmart sales. If Walmart matches that, are you talking about 4.85 billion in sales a year out of those areas? I mean, that's a lot of supply.
Of gold and silver. Or
Yeah.
gold.
This was gold. Yeah,
This
this
was
was
gold.
gold.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would imagine they're going to be seeing silver at the same point. It's the same buyers that come in for gold usually come in looking for silver. So I'd imagine they're asking for it. And if Costco sees this kind of demand, I would expect you'll see silver as well. But you're seeing just demand come in all over the place. I mean, China added another 160,000 ounces of gold in March. That's the 17th straight month they've gone in and purchased gold.
So Costco has actually sold $200 million worth of gold. That was this 2023.
Yeah, no, that was just 1 month, March.
That was 1 month.
Yeah, that puts their run rate at 2.4 billion a year.
And that was last month they sold
Yeah,
$200 million
yeah,
worth of gold.
yeah,
That's
yeah. I
all
mean,
stores.
it's crazy. Yeah, yeah. All
Yeah,
stores
also
combined.
and online. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's $200 million in 1 month.
that's nuts.
Yeah, and I'd imagine that number as the gold and silver market takes off will probably go up. But if it just went flat, that's a $2.4 billion run rate.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah, and that can only increase. Like let's say it gets to 300 and 400 million and
Yeah, yeah, and what's going to happen is the outside dealers, I think, are going to start to really run low on supply, and the premiums are probably going to jump somewhere into that 35% range.
Costco will be probably be able to keep the premiums lower than everyone if they're buying at a big bulk.
I would think, yeah,
Yeah.
that would make sense. But even in their cases, the premiums would have to go up because there's going to be a scarcity of goods.
Hmm.
Um, it's going to be an exciting time. This is going to be one of the really the great summers I think that we've had in a long time in the precious metals market. And really,
Yeah.
if you look at the next 5 years, I think this is the beginning of what we've been waiting for. But this summer, it's going to be exciting. I mean, drill seasons will start to kick off up in Canada here. Probably if you're about another 30 days out. Down here in the United States, they're already up and rolling. But I mean, I think you're going to see companies start to really look for assets. So if you're up there in Canada and you've got companies that have assets in the ground, I think you're going to see the big boys come in. Sprott McEwen, the Australians. The
Yeah.
Australians have been really looking for production or for assets. So I think those guys will start stepping in and coming up looking for more assets they can get into production.
Hmm.
But yeah, it should be an exciting time for the whole
Yeah,
market.
it is exciting time for precious metals, especially when you start seeing moves like this, and unfortunately, of course, maybe a chunk of it has to do with I don't think all of it, but a chunk of it has to do with geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and then Ukraine, and then at the same time, if inflation's not going down anytime soon, manipulated numbers, and then you see central banks buying gold at the fastest rates possible. Yeah.
They keep raising rates to head off this inflation, but I still contend that this round of inflation is not from an overheated economy. I think it's supply chain related, and I agree inflation is going to go up because look at our supply chain right now. You got problems with Somali pirates. The Red Sea has basically been shut down. I mean, that just adds costs, and those costs get passed on to the consumer. And I don't see that going away anytime soon. It might even get a little bit worse. But you're going to come to a point where I think the Fed's going to have to realize that you keep raising these interest rates, all you're going to do is break parts of the economy that don't need to be broken, and you're still not going to do anything for inflation. You're going to have
Right.
to do something about the supply chain if you're going to want to fix inflation. And maybe it's time we started looking more at our hemisphere a little bit. Why don't we build more things in South America, just across the border? Why do we ship it that far? I think we're gonna have to look at what we're doing and maybe adjust some of that. But I
Right.
would agree with you. Inflation's gonna be a real problem. Remember, as we're speaking, I see the gold market just jumped up 30. So I've got a feeling that Syrian news might be starting to hit the wires.
Or yeah, or it could be something more.
It went from plus 25 to plus 30 in a couple of minutes just since we've been
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. It could
It's
be
getting
even
out
something
there.
it could be something even more. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I've been telling all my guys, keep accumulating, doing just what you're telling, your followers on Silver to do. Get in there every month and add your positions no matter what. Be an
Yeah.
accumulator. don't be a trader, don't be a gambler, be an accumulator. That's how you
Yeah.
make real money in precious metals. And if you want to take, say, 10%, 20% of your funds and go out and you want to buy, paper, do that. Fine. I mean, I love it up there. The Golden Triangle up in Canada. I think that's going to end up being maybe the hottest sector in the hottest sector.
Yeah.
The news I keep getting out of that area is just staggering. The mineralization that they're coming up with. I've heard guys tell me point blank that this is the last great undiscovered mineralization on the planet, maybe. They
Wow.
think it's that big. The glaciers receded about 20%, and underneath that, there's huge amounts of mineralization. So I look at companies up there, Juggernaut. I mean, I looked at Juggernaut today, just happened to be up 30% today. But you have companies like that that are really beat up, and then all of a sudden they start perking up because they've got funding in place. Crescat Capital, I got to take my hats off to those guys because they started buying and investing in the mining companies about the time you started talking about silver.
Hmm.
So they were early in the game, but they picked up 19.7% of Juggernaut. They own 19% of Goliath. I got McEwen up there, Sprott up there. It's all the big guys. So there's something big that's coming out of the Golden Triangle. And I would tell people I like those companies myself, but I think you could probably look at maybe 15 or 15, 16 companies that are up there. They're all worth buying.
Yeah,
And down here in
absolutely.
the States, same thing. I mean, look at the small miners that have funding in place. Those are the ones you want because you don't have to worry about funding coming in later. Arizona, gold and silver. I love them a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they just got their
Yeah,
funding in place and they started their drilling.
yeah.
Like 2 days later, they started their drill season. So
Yeah.
there's things like that. I think a guy could add paper into it. And if you wanted to simplify it, just buy the fund,
Yeah,
the
absolutely. It's
and,
yeah,
and
if you if
UGT.
yeah, I totally agree with you. It's it's crazy times ahead, Tom, and like especially how you nailed it down. Like we're super grateful on Wall Street Silver to have you come down to talk to us about this. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, yeah, I don't LinkedIn's the easiest place to get me. I check in there
LinkedIn?
a couple times a day. That's the easiest place.
Yeah, well, again, in the next, it's going to be crazy as everything heats up. So, we'd love to have you back on as the market develops and as gold starts bubbling back up. I already know it's going to go up. So, we'd love to have you back on.
Sooner or later you're going to be a genius because you're simply in the right sector at the right time in history. That's that simple.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Ivan.
All right, take care, everyone.